Harry and Steve Stone. We're at Wrigley Field hoping that this game will get underway. The rain seems to have abated a little bit. You know, we've been away all winter, most of the winter. Didn't have any reason to come to the ballpark, and it's really a pleasant surprise to get here today and see how beautiful this place looks. I think they've spent over close to $6 million in refurbishing Wrigley Field. It's freshly painted. The grass never looked greener. The ivy never looked more beautiful. There's the office structure, the ticket windows now right out in front on the corner of Clark and Addison Street. You'll be proud of this ballpark. Don't hesitate to come out here because you'll be more comfortable and you'll have more enjoyment than you ever did before, especially since it looks as if we're going to have quite an exciting ball club. They've just made some announcement about the weather, and it brought seemingly a pretty good reaction from the crowd. I don't know whether he said the rain was scheduled to stop or what.
No, they introduced the organist, Harry, and they said that it was raining and that it's going to be raining for a little bit yet, but it looks like it's let up a little bit. To me, I know they've played games in worse weather than this. I think they're just hesitating starting the game. Right now, they haven't given the cards to the umpires yet, so it's still in the hands of the management. Once they turn the cards over to the umpires, it's up to them to decide what they want to do with the ball game. But for the fans coming out to Wrigley Field today, as you talked to before, I think they're going to see what's going to be the finest 7th, 8th, and 9th inning ball club the Cubs have ever had, because all the ingredients are here. That fine bullpen, that tremendous offense, and a ballpark that's tailored to scoring runs.
I like, that's the combination of things that I like, Steve, because it's a team that figures to make runs. If they make runs as they figure to, that means that many times now they're going to have leads going into the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings. If they do, they should win a high percentage of those games, because one of the, I guess, the strongest single department that they have is that bullpen. With Willie Hernandez on the left side, with a compensating pitch against a right-handed hitter in the event they change, because he throws that screwball that breaks down and away from a right-hand hitter, and Bill Campbell, who throws the screwball from the right-handed side, which means he has the compensating pitch to stop the left-handed hitter who might be inserted against him, because his screwball breaks down and away from him. So, and then, of course, you got Lee Smith, who's Fireball City when he comes in there to close it out. I think their odds of winning games in late innings are going to be very, very, very great.
Well, I know sometimes we overrate the results of spring training as far as the one-loss record is concerned, but I saw a lot of pitchers in spring training this year, Harry, and I didn't see a one that threw better than Bill Campbell. From the time spring training started to the time spring training ended, every appearance to every hitter, he threw the best stuff I saw in Arizona. And that's pretty good because the air is light down there. You don't get a good curveball usually. Campbell's curveball and his slider, his changeup and fastball looked like he never left for the offseason. He was in great shape. And I'm just really excited for what this bullpen can do and what they can mean to the Cubs late in the ball games this year.
You know, the weather forecasters, Roger Treebster, told us that we'd get the game in, that the rains would come late in the evening. I think the rains have come now. Maybe a little later in the afternoon it will clear and stop. Let's hope so. Steve, I've always thought that you ought to have a tape down in the dugout or in the clubhouse during long delays like this, because I believe there is no humor like baseball humor. There is nothing funnier than some of the things baseball players say while they're whiling away the time in a long delay like this.
Well, I had a chance to spend a few of my seasons in the bullpen on and off out there, and that's a time when you get some of the real funny players in the game are your second string catchers. Those are the guys who spend most of their time in the bullpen. Quite frankly, Harry, there's not a whole lot to do down there. So you wind up telling stories about your minor league careers and stories about guys that you have played with. and it becomes a pretty nice situation. But as far as putting the tape down there, I think sometimes you'd have to edit so much of the language out, you might not get a chance to put too much on the air.
Why, you don't mean to tell me that baseball players use profanity?
No, I was talking about misspelled grammars and things like that.
You know, one of the funniest acts I ever saw during a rain delay was by your old teammate, Rick Dempsey, the catcher.
Well, in Boston, when it really started raining one time, Rick Dempsey came out and he had seen a whole lot of movies of what Babe Ruth was supposed to look like, and he got a couple of towels and he put them underneath his jersey so that his stomach stuck out. He turned his cap around and he went through this whole thing about first the pitcher, then the hitter, and then he gave him a little bit of the Carlton Fisk, if you recall, during that World Series, where he was raising his hands up in the air, jumping to see if it was fair or foul, went around the whole tarp, sliding into all the bases, came at home plate in this big splash of water and called himself safe. It was one of the things that they showed in the highlights of baseball all season.
Yeah. You know, Steve, Wally Phillips brought this up today when he talked about, you know, some of the things they used to do at the ballpark, like play shadow ball, you know, go through the action of fielding a ball and throwing it and hitting it when there really was no ball in play, and just the pantomime. I well recall it after he mentioned it because the Cardinals were very good at that. I'm just wondering why some of these things no longer happen. Is it because of the management wants the players to be more dedicated just to playing the game and believe that this might take a little from their concentration?
Well, I think they're legislating a little of the color out of the game. There's a game that they call flip that a lot of the baseball players like to play, and they get in a circle and they try to flip the ball to each other using only the glove hand. Try to keep the ball in the air as much as possible, and you see the ball bouncing off the chest, sometimes off the head, sometimes off the knee. And there was a few guys who were getting injured. They were getting stepped on, and anything that's outside of the realm of playing the game that you can get somebody injured in, the owners get a little bit paranoid over, and management doesn't want to see that. So they really stopped some of the games like flip, a lot of the hard pepper games that they used to have, which is guys throwing the ball to the hitters and just hitting it almost as hard as they can from about 10 feet away. They've stopped that, and a lot of the things there the players had some fun at, they just say, okay, now we're going to just go play baseball, and they've taken that away from the game.
You know, Stanton Cook and Andy McKenna and Dallas Green and their families and Jim Dowdle are all congregated down the way. Arnie, it might be interesting to show that VIP box in the left field corner. And I know how disappointed they must be to this moment, because they came to this ballpark with full of zest and enthusiasm to get the new season started, just like every other fan did.
Well, I know that they're really looking forward to a good 1983. Dallas Green feels that he's done a real fine job of putting this team together. He's got them on the right track now. And you want to open up against a team like Montreal, a team that you're going to be battling all year long in your division. You want to try to catch them early. I know we've talked about it many times, Harry, and most of the teams get a little bit better as the season goes on. So maybe they'll be a little bit disorganized now. I like the fact that Montreal's playing a rookie. I like that for the Cubs' sake. And I think that at this point, you want to get as many games as you can early, especially on a day like today. It maybe throws off that Montreal offense a little bit. Certainly with the wind blowing in as hard as it does, it's taken away a little bit of their power.
It seems to me the rain is really slowing up. As a matter of fact, it looks as if they could play in this little bit of a drizzle. I noticed up on the scoreboard, Toronto just got 4 in the top of the second inning at Fenway Park. The pitching was scheduled to be Steve for Toronto, an outstanding young right-hander, and Eckersley for the Red Sox. At New York, it's the Phillies and the Mets, 0-0 in the bottom of the 5th. And the Cardinal game with Pittsburgh and St. Louis, like this one, has been delayed by rain. San Diego is playing at San Francisco this afternoon. They have posted pitching, but they couldn't be starting the game at 12 o'clock noon out there, could they?
Well, I think they probably will. Harry, are these lights, is this tanning lights? Because, you know, I just came from Arizona and it's freezing on my face up here.
You know, you were on with Cosell and those guys for a couple of years on the Monday Night Baseball. I'll bet you've already talked more here today than you did in 2 years with them.
Well, in working a game with Howard and working with Al Michaels and Keith Jackson, I definitely have gotten in more words today during this rain delay, and I was able to get in during those ball games. Sometimes it's hard through all the analysis to get get in something, but you know, it gave me a lot of experience working with ABC. They gave me a chance to get in the booth the first time, and I think that's one of the reasons why I got a chance to be with the Cubs, and certainly I'm happy to be here.